taking a look at the kind of movement we've seen on the rand. It's been slight, yes, some strength filtering through, but still holding just above that 670 mark.
Morning, Alishia. Yes, the rand has continued to strengthen. We're seeing it at 670 mark currently. At this point, we think that it's still piggybacking off the strength that we're seeing in the euro. And looking forward, we'd expect that the rand strength would be maintained at least in the short term. Equity markets are up this morning, commodity prices are rallying, and it looks like the dollar is still broadly weaker. So in the short term, we'd expect the rand to remain in this range from about 672 to 682. We're not, although we expect the rand to remain fairly strong, we're not at the moment anticipating a downward breach of that target range.
Of course, taking a look at the euro, we're holding at about 144 and quite a recovery from the 3-week low of 140.73, which was hit last week Thursday. Are you surprised at the kind of resilience and the kind of strength that's filtered through in the euro? Because we were discussing earlier that fundamentally nothing much has really changed here.
Yeah, absolutely, Alishia. The strength that we're seeing in the euro is a bit unusual. But in our view, I mean, if you look at it, it really is holding up particularly well against the dollar, and that seems to be most of where the euro is looking quite strong. And part of that relates to how the different approaches that these regions have taken in the wake of their respective economic recessions. What we've seen in the US is that the Fed has been printing money, QE2, and we're expecting further information on the possibility of QE3 later today. But what we've seen in the euro area is that because the ECB is quite independent, has remained I would say not as quantitative easing has not been provided to the same extent as you've seen in the US, and in fact at this point they're now embarking on a tightening cycle, and that seems to be really where the two differences lie between the currencies and why the euro seems to be holding up particularly well in spite of all the problems that you're seeing in the euro area. You also shouldn't forget that although the sovereign debt crisis is topical at the moment, the countries at the core of the euro area, such as France and Germany, have also have actually been recording some fairly robust economic growth, and most of the countries that are affected by the euro debt crisis are more on the periphery. So you know, the euro does, although on a fundamental basis, should not be as strong. There are certainly some supporting factors there.
Just taking a look at local data that filtered through, we had a slew of numbers come through yesterday, and to a large extent encouraging just how much attention has markets been paying to local news, given all that's playing out in the global arena.
Well, certainly it looks like the rand has continued to take its cue largely from global developments, and you're correct in that there was quite a deluge of local data out yesterday, but the fact that the rand strengthened in spite of a widening in the current account suggests that at this point international developments are still going to dictate the currency's movements in the short term.